come to order. Today's meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order on April 23rd, 2025. Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance to chambers. Please remember to turn off your cell phones. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by the City Council, which serve voluntarily. It's this board's intention to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing this equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain city codes, codes within the city. The board considers new business items in 2 parts, first the violation and then affirmative relief. Formal rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes. The board may grant additional time. All proceedings will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, you will be escorted from the chambers. Now I ask all who plan to speak to rise and be sworn in by our clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony? Thank you.
Our first order of business is going to be review and approve the minutes of last month's meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Is there anyone here today to speak on items that are not on our agenda? Nope. All right, we will get started with our new business items. And that is 4.1 on our agenda, case number 21-25. Fine respondents David J. Lee at 319 Hilltop Avenue in violation of code for fences, exterior surfaces, and roof maintenance, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Sir, will you come to the podium, please? State your name and address for the record to the clerk.
Hi, I'm David Lee, the owner of 319 Hilltop Avenue,
Is
Clearwater,
that your
Florida.
address?
Yes.
Okay. I have one question for you. Do you admit or deny the violation?
Can I introduce myself to you guys first? My name David Lee. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, so I'm going to be 62 in July. So I'm back and forth. I still work up north and back and forth. So what happened is I have appeal.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
I just need you to answer. Do you admit or deny the violation?
No, they're there. Yes, I admit it.
You admit it?
Yes.
All righty. Have a seat right there, and we'll hear from the city, and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Actually, I could ask for
Motion?
no, not yet. Mr. Dixon, is the property in compliance?
No, there are 4 violations. He's corrected 1, and he's working on some
Okay.
others.
Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is granted. Mr. Dixon, you have the floor.
Afternoon, Board. Greg Dixon, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case 21-25 for 319 Hilltop Avenue. There are 4 violations at this property for exterior surfaces, fence maintenance, roof maintenance, and an unsafe pool. Notice of violation went out at the end of January with a compliance date in the beginning of March. This is the fence around the property. There is a pool in the backyard there. It was damaged, then the storms damaged it even more in October. There was a tarp on the roof. There's mold and mildew on the exterior of the building. Here's a picture of the backyard to show you the pool that's back there that's currently unsecured. This is today. I met the owner at the property. He has taken the tarp off the roof. He's got plans to get this old fence out and a new fence up and then work on the exterior. But as of today, the fence is still there. The tarp is gone. The exterior still needs to be pressure washed and probably touched up. So compliance can be met for the exterior surfaces by replacing any defective structural or decorative elements of any building wall and ensure all exterior surfaces are free of mildew, rust, loose material, and faded peeling paint. Compliance can be met for fence maintenance by replacing the fence and removing any remnants of the old fence. Removal of what remains of the old fence would gain compliance, with some sort of barrier would need to be constructed to block access to the pool. The roof has been taken care of, and for the unsafe pool, ensure the water in the pool is treated and the pump functions properly to circulate the water, and a barrier must be in place to prevent access to the pool. So for case 21-25, I'm requesting a declaration of violations for just the roof maintenance. And then for the other violations, request compliance on or before 6/125 for the exterior fence and unsafe pool. If violations continue to exist, impose a fine of $150 per day for each day the violation continues to exist.
All right. Does any board, do you have any questions for Inspector Dixon?
Yes. Is the pool holding water?
Yeah, he showed me pictures. He's got a pool company now to come service the pool. It just, pump was off.
I'm sorry?
I guess the pump was off or inoperable, but he showed me that the pool is operating now.
Okay, but the pool has water in it?
Mhm.
This is like a below-ground pool, or?
Right,
Even with the
in-ground
ground,
pool.
it's not an above-ground?
No.
Okay. Is the problem with the fence, does the fact that the fence is decayed and falling down, does that allow access into the pool area?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Board, does anybody else have any questions? Inspector Dixon, if you have a seat, we'll speak with Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, come forward, sir. And I want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
And
Uh,
what's going on here?
One of the reasons we're here is I'm not retired yet, and then with the hurricanes and all the expenses, that might be pushed back. So I have a P.O. box, and so the certified mails and stuff was going to this box. So the only way I was alerted to the situation was then a yard sign was placed with a Ziploc in this document. Neighbor texted me pictures, and then I had him send me all the stuff. Rapidly boarded a plane, and I'm here dealing with this. So that's the kind of person I am. Fully intend to be a good citizen of Clearwater, things of that nature. So with that being said, 62 years old, reason I'm having this conversation with you is the June 1st deadline. I'm still working it. What I do is I'm a heavy-duty industrial electrician. I work for General Motors, Ford, so all the stuff with the car companies. So when we do a line change, I'm there 24/7, and I can't pull away. But then when the project's done, I can come down here and do things. So I don't want to get caught with a tight deadline to try to meet all that. And then the other thing is, I was actually communicating with Gregory maybe back in October, and I was trying to find a fencing contractor, because that whole fence just needs to go away and do 120 feet of new fence. That's about 14 4x4s and all that kind of stuff. I even called today the 188 Dig Right service to have all the utilities located, so we just don't willy-nilly start drilling, all this stuff. So trying to do things right. So all that's going to take time. And I'm going at the rate that I'm going to have to do it all myself, because between the fly-by-night people and things of that nature, putting money, so I'm just preparing for the worst. Hopefully it goes a lot better than that, but that's my goal, is to be fully cooperative with you guys.
We're here to work with you.
And so the more time I could get, if I could have like an August 1st do or die deadline, that would be very helpful with everything that kind of got going in the situation. And then I could also communicate with Gregory on updates during that timeline.
Yes, that's recommended, that you keep
Yeah,
in touch with
yeah,
your
absolutely,
inspector
absolutely.
on
So-
everything that you get done. Inspector Dixon, you're requesting a declaration of violation for the roof maintenance as separate, being separate, or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he took the roof, or the tarp off,
Yeah,
so
and-
there's
Okay,
no
so
violation.
it's okay.
And the reason the tarp was on there is because there's a 1980s addition. The home was built in 1924, the main structure. Then there was an addition of a Florida room, and the swimming pool was placed in at that time. And so they put a completely flat roof on the thing. And so they just kind of roofed over the thing, and it had aggregate, and it was kind of, so there's a white silicone painted on surface. So I applied that to that roof and kind of put up a tarp to shade myself. While I'm doing this, you're supposed to not let it get real hot, all these rules, right? So I had the tarp on the main structure. It was in the process, and I ran out of time, had to go back up north to work. So and that's why the tarp was still there, but that's off, and I'll just deal with whatever I have to with that application.
So the main structure didn't have really any roof damage, you just
No.
moved the tarp over? so it
Yes,
could
exactly.
fix-
So that was
fix
kind of
it.
like a sunshade thing. I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer, but it was an idea I had to try to keep yourself out of the Florida weather and keep the project moving.
Okay. Well, Board, do you have any questions for
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
I have one in general. I want to make sure I understand the roof business. It's done, it's repaired, so there's,
Yeah, it's
the
just-
roof is in compliance. It's just
Yeah.
that we're looking for a declaration, is that correct?
Yes, on the roof. So
Okay.
if, oh, go ahead.
The other thing I wanted to mention that I don't see in this is when, I know from my experience, when the fence is done, part of the thing that's going to figure into the time for compliance is the permit for the fence.
Yes.
I haven't heard that mentioned anywhere, but that is a factor that might affect our decision on the amount of time required for compliance.
Yes, and this will be, the fence will be a permit project.
Have you applied for the permit?
No,
for
that's the
fencing?
next step. I was actually going to try to do that today or tomorrow.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lean, I'm more concerned with the unsafe pool. What
Okay.
have you done about that, so no one can wander in that pool?
That's a great question, because that's a big concern of mine. So I fly out of here on Sunday, so I'm going to take a strong look. I got maybe some help to try to do some things to get, even if I have to take some of the old panels and just put them up, just
Yeah.
some way to keep children out of there.
Yeah.
And I might even get with Gregory on what's acceptable to the city. I don't even know if I have to put snow fencing up. I don't know, whatever it takes. Chicken wire, I don't care. Whatever.
Tarp, something.
Yeah, whatever, I know, and I totally agree. So, yeah, absolutely. So
Thank you.
I'll definitely be
Safety
communicating with Gregory with that, because that's a worry of mine as well as all y'all.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Can I go ahead and get a declaration on this roof maintenance?
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine of $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that declaration motion passes.
Good grief.
Excuse me, Rebecca Mulder, Code Compliance. I just wanted to make a statement in reference to the permit portion. It's not specifically mentioned in our PowerPoint because a fence is generally a pretty expedited fence permit, and it's not something that would take a significant period of time. It just needs a site plan and a general layout of where it's going to be to ensure that it's within their setbacks and on their property. Other than that, it's a fast turnaround. So it wouldn't be something that would delay him from executing.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Lee, you're going to, you said you were going to call like the hotline for utilities to be, is it possible for you to just put the posts back where they were as a emergency, as Ms. Mulder just explained?
Yeah, the new fence is going to not be on the sideline between property lines. It'll be the same location, but there'll be some extra poles going in.
So you're still gonna have to.
But in an emergency situation, I could do something to try to secure that thing.
Okay. Board, he's asking for compliance on June 1st. I have no problem with, he's got a lot of stuff going on here, and, he's flying in and out. I don't have a problem, July, August, I don't have a problem
I
with
thought you
August.
asked for August 1st.
Yeah,
I'd love August. I'd love.
he'd love August, but,
You're saying
Yeah.
the spectrum.
so, that is our decision, what you guys would like to do. Is August 1st, is that enough time to,
Yeah,
for you
yeah,
to get everything together?
yes.
Board, is that okay?
Well, except for the unsafe pool, I think that should be taken care of first.
No, I'm going to do that immediately.
Oh,
Before I
okay.
fly out Sunday,
Yeah.
there's going to be no possibility a child could get to that pool.
Okay?
I'll give you my
Thank
word on that.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Okay.
Suppose in that case too, he could be in communication with the code compliance guy.
Yeah.
'Cause
Inspector
that's the
Dixon.
most dangerous
Okay.
Yeah.
thing is
What-
the unprotected pool.
What I will do on the pool, because that's a big concern of yours and mine, is I'll get Gregory involved in that.
Good.
So that he can get you a picture or something, whatever was done.
Yeah, that's what Mr. King was just saying, stay in touch with Greg.
Yeah, but on that one, you need to know before I fly out Sunday. And I want to
Yes.
know from him before I leave that we're
We
good.
can all rest easy.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Board, if that's going to be our decision, then let me get a motion.
Did you need a first, you need a first on those other three
Yes,
violations?
I need a
Chief?
first.
Okay.
We already have a motion on that. That's
On the other three?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before August 1st. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of
150.
$150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you very much, board. Hey, and I appreciate you guys, because I know you're all volunteer and stuff, so
Thank you. Thank you for your
We
service.
appreciate you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, our next case on our agenda is 4.2, case number 22-25, fine respondents Osni A. Perez Cardosa at 512 North Washington Avenue in violation of code for short-term rental and residential business tax receipt, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is anyone here to speak on that?
Declaration.
No? Ms. Green, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. This property is returned to compliance. We're seeking a declaration of violation.
All righty. Can I get a declaration?
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is 4.4, case number 24-25, fine respondents Ortol bin Yaish at 2470 Shelley Street in violation of code for roof maintenance, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? No? Inspector Maddox, you have the floor.
Kevin Maddox, Code Compliance Inspector. This has returned to compliance on the 21st of April, a couple days ago, requesting a declaration of violation.
All right, beautiful. Can I get a declaration?
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may enter a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Inspector Maddox. All right, next on our agenda is 4.5. It's been withdrawn. Next is 4.6, which has been continued to June 25th. And next is 4.7, case 27-25, fine respondents Clearwater Pharma LLC, care of CVS at 1899 North Highland in violation of code for landscaping, and issue an order with compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? No? Inspector
Robert Robichaud.
Robichaud. I was going to say Chu, but you have the floor, sir.
Thank you.
And, excuse me, Ms. Mulvey, is this the one where, okay.
So, 1899 North Highland. I'm a land development arborist, Robert Robichaud. They are in, who do So they have one violation, it's their landscaping. According to the code, all landscaping needs to be in compliance with their approved landscape plan at all times. All areas have to be covered with shrubs, ground cover turf, or 3 inches of organic mulch. Anything dead or declining needs to be replaced. Landscaping will be inspected every 3 years. And then the bottom section is just the standards for things to be planted. I did sent the violation on January 22nd. The compliance date was February 19th. This is the approved landscape plan that I used and annotated. This is a blown up portion of their property, and the key stating what plant material would be planted. Here's the pictures of the areas that are not in compliance. They are not as stated on the landscape plan. There's supposed to be shrubs and ground covers in this area. There's some declining shrubs and another area without the approved shrubs and ground covers. Same thing here and here. And this was this morning, no changes to the landscaping. They can come into compliance by planting the missing materials in their landscape as it shows on their landscape plan. We are requesting compliance for or on the 23rd or a fine of $250 a day.
Board, do we have any questions for Inspector?
Is this, I know that store's been there a while. This is more of a maintenance type issue or work something that should have been maintained and kept rather than something new, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it's been closed for quite a while.
The CVS?
Yes, on the corner of Highland and Sunset.
I didn't realize it closed.
Yeah, it's been closed for a long time.
Okay.
It's not abandoned property, is it? I mean,
It's owned, they're trying to sell it right now.
they're trying to sell it. Okay. All right, Board, do you have any more questions for the Inspector? No? Okay.
Just up the street.
Can I get a motion?
Go.
Somebody else want to take a turn?
What are we doing here?
First violation.
First violation? Yep. First motion, violation exists. I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Don't delete the top part, just-
Okay. Oh, okay, good. I move to enter an order requiring the respondent, I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before, what was our date?
May
May
23rd?
May 25th. If the respondent,
23rd.
May 23rd. If the respondent, it's my first time doing this, sorry.
We're good.
On or before May 23rd, 2025. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $250 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
You did good.
All right, now we're on to old business. This is accept the affidavits of compliance listed for case number 5.1.1, case 5523, case 5.1.2, case 72-24, case 5.1.3, case 74-24, case 5.1.4, case 113-24, and case 5.1.5, case 17-25.
I move to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now on to 5.2 on our agenda, case 97-24. Accept the affidavit of noncompliance for respondents Berg J. Smith, estate at 2080 Douglas Avenue for exterior services. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Oh, actually, we don't need to. Inspector Dixon, you have the floor.
The violation still exists.
Violations still exist? All right. Can I get a affidavit of noncompliance?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the affidavit of noncompliance and issue an order that imposes fines and states if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such a lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such a lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, 5.3 on our agenda, case 99-24, accept the affidavit of noncompliance for respondents Jonathan Wade Sr. at 1312 North Madison Avenue for portable signage unit. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No, Inspector Dixon?
This violation still exists also.
Still exists, okay. Can I get a motion?
I move to accept the affidavit of noncompliance and issue an order that imposes fines and states if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, other board action today, we're going to hear some lien reduction requests. Case number MHC 200, consider request by petitioner Bruce Toll at 1126 Tangerine Street to reduce the fine, RE demolition, and if approved, issue an order that specifies a fine that includes administrative costs, establishes a date payable, or the lien will revert back to its original amount. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? Sir, will you come forward, please? Will you state your name and address for the record, please?
Bruce 25590 64th Avenue North in Morris Park.
All right. What's going on?
I purchased this property in 2021. It was a vacant lot. I was told there was some lien violations way back in 2006 for going back to some homestead violations to 1999.
Okay.
And I recently started building on the property. We had paid all the back taxes, the violations, but there's this demo fee that the city did back in, I believe, 2006. Yes, September 21. And that was $4,934.34. Since then, there's interest accrue of $9,095.41.
Okay.
So I would like to kindly ask the board to reduce that portion down to $1,000. I have already paid over $14,323.27 of the penalty for the homestead that the previous owner incurred.
Okay. So what was the demolition cost on this? 49 something?
4,000.
It's $4,934.34.
$34.34. And what's administrative on this?
So this type of lien is the same as what you know as the abatement liens. That is the city's cost.
Okay. Okay. So city's cost is basically 49, 34, 34. Okay. Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Tu?
Not at the moment.
I do.
Go ahead.
When you purchased the property, did the title company make you aware of these fines that were due?
Yes, and they told us that we could request the reduction when we start construction.
When you started construction, but not when you purchased the property?
I'm sorry?
You purchased the property in 2021?
Yes, we started permit in August 2024.
Okay, thanks.
Board, what's your thoughts on this?
To clarify, that 4934 34, that's a hard cost of the demo of the previous structure.
Yes.
And anything on top of that has just been interest and penalties or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Okay, but that 49 and change is that's a hard cost.
9,000 and something in interest.
Yeah, I
But
got you.
yeah, the hard cost is 49,3434.
So we really can't go below that, right?
That's up to
Well,
us.
that's up.
I mean, you know, I would want the city to be reimbursed for what they had to spend out on the property.
Yeah.
Is what I would like to see, but it's the board's decision.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
but, so our position is that on the board, the city is entitled to recoup its costs, and the only way that the board could essentially go below what the city actually spent would be if the board made some kind of finding that there was a legal error committed by the city. Otherwise, if everything the city did was proper, then the city's entitled to recoup the costs. The interest that's accrued here is because this is a very old lien, as you can tell. But back when they did this, the process was a little bit different, and these liens went to the council. The council would adopt a resolution, and the lien actually references an interest rate that was 10% back at the time. It was 2006. So it's been accruing at a 10% interest rate ever since. So that's why the interest is what it is here. So staff can give you some more information about the current situation at the property. We think that's always relevant for the board to consider. And then, of course, whatever the current property owner plans to do with the property. There's some language in our code that talks about encouraging people to put money in to the property to improve the property, and so to the extent that liens can be reduced to encourage money to be invested into the property, that's something that the city code encourages and wants the board to consider. So that's pretty much all I have, unless you had any questions for me. I just did want to clarify, this is a very old lien under a different process, and the interest was 10%, so that's why you see the numbers you see.
Okay. Does any?
I have a question. Did the city pay for the demolition?
Yes.
Yes, that's what we're saying, is that
He
the
acquired a
city.
clean property,
Right.
a vacant lot,
But
nothing.
why wasn't the city paid for the demolition at the time?
They were. I mean, the city would have paid the demo guy, but that puts the lien on the property that whoever picks the property up has got to pay at some point.
Okay.
Which was my point, we can't go below, much as we'd like to,
Yeah.
we can't go below what the city's already spent.
Okay. Well, let's hear from Mr. Tuafield. Have a seat. We'll hear from the city real quick, and then we'll call you back up. Thank you, sir.
Hello, Board. I'm Kevin Garrett, the building official for City of Clearwater, and this is Inspector Catherine Reese with me. So we put together just a little bit of history because this is an old case, long before any of you were involved with this board. But you kind of heard it in pieces as different people have spoken. So we've got a little bit of PowerPoint presentation. We'll pull that up. You can see some of the pictures of what we did take down back in 03? 06. 06, okay. And it started in 03. It was a 03 unsafe building abatement case. So I'll turn the floor over to Catherine.
Hi, Board. I'm Catherine Reese, Code Inspector for the City of Clearwater.
Hi, Catherine.
Let me just get my PowerPoint up for you. And it's spinning.
Take your time, that's all right.
Okay, so this is in reference to 1126 Tangerine Street. I'm Catherine Reese, Code Inspector, and the original case was UNS 2003-00010. And the violation for this is unsafe buildings and systems. This is for the notice of violation that was originally sent January 21st of 2003. They had a month compliance date. Certified mail was also sent January 23rd, 2003. Okay, and the notice of demolition went out May 16th, 2003. And the final letter to Housing Authority was sent May 19th, 2003. This is just a property appraiser information. This is just the front of the structure. Didn't look too bad, but once you look inside the home, mold growth, roof was caving, etc. It was definitely in need of demo. So it's just many pictures.
Yeah.
Replaced the sticker that was done by Mr. Bill Wright. And this is the pictures I took yesterday. So the new build is going up. We did address the, them dumping everything on the ground, not having a silt fence. That will be corrected. And again, as you stated, the city typically does not reduce on the amount less than what the city incurred, because that would go towards taxpayers paying for that at that point. So,
Board, do we have any questions for inspector?
Isn't the time to appeal these fines and these liens prior to the purchase, when you know the lien is there?
That would
So
be
why would you do it after, 3 years after the purchase?
That would be optimal to do it when the title company searches
Right.
it and tells you there is liens against the property. That would be the optimal time to do it. I can't speak for him, or for Mr. Tudway. It wasn't taken care of then. We'll bring him back up, and if you would like to ask him that question.
That's a good point.
Mr. Tu, will you come back up, please, sir?
That's a great question. I asked myself that when I got to this hearing. Honestly, it was advised that, I'm being honest with you guys, that if the lien passed 20 years, that it would be removed. So that was my decision not appealing at that time. But I understand, looking back, that should have been looked into. Like I say, I plan to improve the property, add to the tax revenue base for the city.
Oh, yeah, you're doing a nice job. The pictures look really
Yeah.
nice.
And like I say, it's been 20-plus years since it's been sitting as a vacant lot.
But you wrote, you wasn't aware of the fines.
I'm sorry?
You were not aware of the fines?
I wasn't aware of the fines at the time of purchase, yes, sir.
Okay.
We do understand that we're sort of bound by what the city cost has incurred. And this isn't just lawyer administrative fees. This was actual physical demolition of the property and hauling all the stuff away and resurfacing or regrading the lot and everything. So, board, I would, my opinion is that we can take it down to the $4,934.34. If anyone else has.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If we do reduce it down to the demo cost, how soon can you pay that?
How soon? I mean, we already paid the back taxes, so, can I ask a question? Can I request for half of that? And I can pay that, what's today? Wednesday. I can pay that by Friday.
I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to do that. We have to, like I said.
I just wanted to know how soon you could pay the $49.34.
How much time does he need?
Well, isn't it stated in the
At least a
lien
blank
reduction,
line.
how long they have to?
No, it's a
30
blank.
days.
Mine just says zero at the line.
Mr. Chair, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think we don't have any objection if you want to give him, we would object to you going below the costs, but if the amount of time to pay that, we wouldn't object to extending that time frame.
Because if it goes back into default, it's gonna go back to the 14,000 if it's not paid in the time that,
I guess the question would be how much time, if we assess the $4,934 and change, how much time do you need to pay that? Is 60 days enough?
Yes, sir, definitely.
60.
I'll make it next week.
We can at least do that.
I want to make it this go away, so next week, next Friday.
I'll make a
we
motion.
wanna make sure you have ample time to do it, We don't wanna, put a crunch on it.
Thank you, appreciate that, but I'll
make a
pay it off
motion.
by next Friday.
Go ahead, Mr. Plum.
I move to enter an order reducing the amount of the lien to administrative costs of $4,934.34, payable within 60 days of the lien will revert to its, or the lien will revert to its original amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you,
Mr.
Board.
Chair.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now on to our next lien reduction, which is 6.2. 108, approve the stipulation agreement for petitioners James Hogan at 108 Kenwood Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
Before they,
Okay, if you'll come forward. Sure. Both of you, are you planning both to speak? Okay, well, come on up. Give your name and address to our clerk for our record, please.
before we go forward with that, this is a stipulation agreement, and this is a little bit different than our usual lien reduction process. So, Mr. Simpson, I don't know if you want to go over it real quick. We've got some new members, and it's been a while since we've done one of these.
Sure. Yeah, so when folks come in and they ask for a lien reduction, typically they would fill out an application and the clerk would start to gather the information and then put the case on the agenda. In this particular circumstance, the contract purchaser approached the city. At least that's what I was told. And from our perspective, and we just want the properties to be brought into compliance, whether that is a new buyer that's going to come in and do it or the current owner. Doesn't really make a difference to the city. We just want to see it done as quickly as possible. And one of the things that we've discussed in the stipulations is trying to, that it gives a buyer some type of certainty. So when the title company identifies an issue like this, the lien amount, in this case, it was a few $100,000 or more than that, I believe. The property's underwater, so to speak, in that instance, where the value of the lien exceeds the value of the property. So no smart investor is going to buy a property that has a lien that exceeds the value of it, right? So in that instance, in order to help facilitate a transaction, the city can enter into an agreement with that buyer to give them some kind of certainty that they can then take to the title company to say, maybe to get financing or to get the title insurance, whatever it is they need to close that transaction. With the stipulation agreement, they have a number. So instead of the hundreds of thousands of dollars lien that is continuing to accrue because the property's in violation, so that number is getting higher, now they know that the city would be agreeable to reducing it to X. In this case, we put on the stipulation, I had drafted it at $1,500 because I originally had seen an email that was the request when the application actually came in. It came in as it was written down as $1,200 on the application. So technically, I don't think we actually have a stipulation because in my view, the stipulation means that both the parties that are appearing in front of the board, the city and the applicant, agree the lien will be reduced to X number, and if the property is brought into compliance within Y time frame. So as soon as, assuming both the parties agree on those important terms, we present that stipulated agreement to the board, and then we ask for the board to approve it because the parties are agreeable to these terms. This one was a little bit unusual because I drafted an agreement. We don't technically have it unless they can correct me, but I had drafted the agreement with the terms of the property coming into compliance on or before July 1, and that the amount being reduced to $1,500 based on that, and that it would be paid in full within 30 days. Now, I saw a contract. I think it looked to me by the contract I saw that the parties were supposed to close a couple of days ago. So I don't know if there's some updates they can enlighten us on. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I think the bottom line is that we've got a lien. The property's not in compliance yet, but we're agreeable, the city is agreeable to giving some kind of assurance to the buyer that if they can bring the property into compliance within a certain time frame, that we will stipulate to an amount that it would be reduced to. Hopefully that would be, if they haven't closed yet, that's hopefully it's a number that the title company can hold in escrow or something like that. That helps them close, and they can get to work and bring the property into compliance.
Okay.
So if anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer.
No, you explained that very well, sir. Once again, state your name for the
Jeffrey
record.
Harding, 108 Kenwood Avenue, Clearwater.
James Hogan.
So what is the update on this property, fellas?
The update is, well, I've lived there all this time. I fell into, first of all, I was a single parent. I raised my 2 kids from 1 and 3. So anything that I had, of course, went to the kids. I mean, I got no teeth and, you know, that kind of thing, because 800 on a cap or, you know, take care of the kids was the situation. Come to find out, several years ago, I didn't realize I had some undiagnosed health problems. One of them was hypothyroidism, where I was real low on thyroid hormone, which I don't know if anybody's had it or familiar with it, but it affects every part of your body, even your emotions. And I was in pretty bad shape. Started treating that and ended up with a 6-way bypass. Never heard of a 6-way bypass until the doctor said it. So I was not moving really good for a long time and didn't know it. The property fell into disrepair, and you know, I apologize. I can't say it didn't. Got a hold of James here, and he said, look, I did the property next door, and I do have a picture on my phone if you'd like to see what he did with the property next door. It's an amazing looking property now. And he said, and I buy yours, sir, and we'll do the same thing if the city will let us. And my daughter, she lives in Tennessee, and she's willing to take care of me till what happens. So, and I'd like that relief if you guys would grant that to me.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about some of the troubles that you've had over your life, and commend you for raising your children.
Amen.
You know, as a single father. I don't have any problems with myself. Board, do you have any questions for the fellows here? I don't have any problems with staying to this stipulation agreement that they have with the city. Mr. Hogan, is July 1st going to be time for you to?
I was actually going to ask for possibly a small extension because we do get permits for everything, which has been causing major delays for all my projects right now. So just to mitigate some risk on that, if we could have maybe till September 1st, if possible, because the permit process between getting plans, getting them stamped by an architect, then submitting and getting it approved has been taking like literally 3 months, especially after the hurricane.
Counselor,
If I may. So we had this discussion when we were talking about drafting this, and one of the things that we had discussed, and I hadn't had time to amend the agreement, and then given that we had some questions whether or not we were going to be able to stipulate to the actual terms, I figured we would just hash this out here. But one of the things that we had discussed was that if we could leave the tight time frame for the largest reduction, and then we could essentially amortize the amount such that, so if they could get it done by, the way it's drafted right now is July 1?
Yeah.
If they can get it done by July 1, the city would agree to $1,500, and then, every 3 months or so, the amount would go up. So, which I can put some terms together, but that was something that we had discussed that we were agreeable to because that would incentivize them to move quicker. They would get a bigger reduction if they got done more quickly. But ultimately, like I said, the stipulation agreement would be that we kind of agreed all this beforehand and then present that to you. That's not exactly, we weren't exactly able to get that done here, but yeah, I don't necessarily have a outright objection to you extending the time, but we were hoping that if it does take longer, that I guess that's one of the considerations for the board. The longer it takes, then there's less of a reason to reduce the amount. That's what the code says.
I have a question about that. Does that mean that we would kick it down the road for 30 days, and you would give us the wording of an order that we could execute, because I don't know how to
I'm okay
execute
with that
an
as
order
well,
on-
but I don't know how that affects, I mean, have you all
Yeah,
closed
we're
the
trying to
deal?
take
Are
care
you
of it
closed,
so
or
No, we need to do that.
you delayed your closing?
No, we
Okay.
need to not delay our closing.
Well, Matt, we were supposed to close a few days ago. We have
Right.
delayed it till after this. We're hoping to get this resolved, and then I was gonna close and pay it off at the closing, the
Okay.
1,500. That was the plan.
Oh, okay, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do, I mean, like I said, I've got a photo of the house next door that he took care of. And I mean, if you guys would like to see it, I'll grab my phone and show it to you. It's what Florida should be, you know?
A lot of the neighbors are really happy. We've had multiple neighbors come up to us and they're pumped because, you know, they've
And
been
if
waiting
you do
for
that
it.
with my property, I think that the city would be very happy with it. And
Agreed.
I'll be out of your hair.
I think our challenge is to just figure out a wording for today, or just do the 1,500 for today, so that they can have an order in place, do their closing, and then I don't know how we deal with the
Counselor?
rest of that.
Well, I have a question. You said you would close and then you would pay the fine, but then you were also asking for September 1st to pay the fine?
No,
To
to get
come
into
into
compliance. We were gonna pay the fine at the closing, but if we could have until September 1st to get it into compliance, because we have to get permits and everything as well.
understand.
Which can take a long time.
I think that's
Especially if we use,
reasonable.
especially if we use hard money to buy the house, because it's like, it causes delays, because we get reimbursed in draws. So it's
Right.
like the roof gets done, then we gotta go take a picture, wait 3 days. My partner doesn't wanna send it to the contractor, you know, so it's just delay all
Right.
the time. So that's why I just wanna make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for failure.
So how do
Thank
we
you.
word an order?
Counselor, if they close on the property, say within the next, if we go with this stipulation, and they pay the fine, but they don't come in compliance until July 1st,
September
or
1st.
September 1st, yeah, if they don't come into compliance by July 1st, and we extend it out to August or September, does that negate all this agreement? Or is it,
Well,
I mean, how
so
would we?
I would defer to the board attorney on how you should structure the motion or what you should say. I mean, from my perspective as the representative of the city staff, we discussed this with our director, and, you know, she was agreeable to, you know, the July 1 being the deadline to agree to the 1,500, and then if every 3 months after that, it would essentially, the amount would increase. Now, I didn't draft the agreement to say that, but, you know, in my view, if this is the board's, you know, the board this is not a hard cost lien to the city, so I think the board has pretty broad discretion on how you want to address this. We do have some costs. I think we could tell you what those are exactly if I don't have them in front of me, but they're a little less than 1,500, the city's cost for investigating the case and sending out notices and things like that. That's where the 1,500 number came from, is that covers the city's investigative and administrative costs. But like I said, we want to incentivize quick turnaround. The agreement also does not, we would not officially release the lien. So when you have your board order, that order remains unpaid for 3 months. The clerk goes and records that in the public records. That's when it becomes a lien. That's how the title companies find it. In order for it to no longer be a lien, to get removed from being a cloud on the title, the city has to record another document called a release or a satisfaction. So the way that this is structured is we would not record that release until it was brought into compliance. Because if we go and we release the lien, then we've basically given up every leverage that we have. We would have to start another case over to get a new lien in order to try to enforce compliance again. So we wouldn't agree to release that, but in my experience, title companies typically will hold this money in an escrow account, and then once the city, once it's brought into compliance, the title company can be notified, and then they will make the payment to the city at that time from the escrow account, and then we would record the release. I can't speak to what their title company has said, or if they're even getting title insurance, I don't know, but I'm just giving you some of my experience in these transactions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So based on what we're trying to accomplish here today in terms of handling the lien and providing the time that's been requested, this stipulation agreement doesn't fly because of the dates. Is that correct?
Well, it sounds like I drafted a stipulation agreement based on some emails that I had seen about Mr. Hogan's request. It sounds like they've encountered some new information maybe since those emails were sent, and now they're asking for a little bit more time. And we just weren't able to discuss that with the appropriate city staff in order for us to agree to what they're asking for now. They're asking for a little bit more than what I was under the impression originally in terms of having more time. He's explained why. I'm not saying it's not a legitimate reason. I'm just saying wasn't aware of that until now. So I can't stipulate to it, which would mean that we both agree to it. But that doesn't mean that the board, this is still your discretion to decide. And if you were to accept what he's asking for, then I think you'll have to figure out how to make that motion with your attorney.
I think I have an attempt for the motion.
Okay.
Well, hold on, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
You'll get ahead of yourself.
If I can finish my thought on it, we have before us a stipulation agreement. And based on the data we've gotten today, it seems like this stipulation agreement, that what is needed by the property owner, et cetera, and the purchaser falls outside of what this says. And so if we're going to accept or reject, do something with the stipulation agreement, we need to have a valid stipulation agreement, unless there's a wording of a motion, or we can do something other by compiling an order of some sort that gives everybody what they need today. Otherwise, we need a changed stipulation agreement, unless I'm misreading this thing.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes.
If the board gives us terms, I can draft an agreement based on the terms that the board gives me, and get approval from your attorney that it meets the intent of the board, and then they can sign it and they can close their transaction and get to work. Because that's what the city, I think that's what all of us want, is for them to be able to get to work and fix up the issues. So if we delay it, I guess I just, again, we want to help them bring the property into compliance.
Sure.
Obviously, it's the board's discretion on whether or not, what the amount of the fine should be and how long that time frame should be and all that. So, but I'm comfortable that if the board gives me terms, we can get an agreement that can be signed.
I think I have the terms possible.
Well, does the city have some drop dead point where you say, hey, look, you can say, I don't know, I'm just making something up here, $1,000 per quarter ad infinitum? Is there at some point, like 2 years or someplace, where you kick in this paragraph that's paragraph 5 that says, hey, if it's not brought into compliance by now, the whole thing's null and void, and you go back to the original lien? Or something like that. There's got to be some drop dead point.
Rebecca, Code Compliance Manager, so whatever date you set for the amendment to the stipulation, so if you stipulate to a September 1st to have compliance, theoretically, the way that would execute is that we would wait till the September 1st. If it was brought into compliance before or up to that date, then we would be okay with the agreed upon amount, say the $1,500 or whatever amount that you're going to make motion for. If they don't come into compliance by that date, the city could then, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jared, but then the liens would revert back to the original full amount, and they would be responsible for paying that.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead,
My
sir.
statement is, as a businessman, they're putting out over $100,000. He's going to get that thing ready to sell as soon as he can. He's not going to drag his feet.
We understand. We're just trying to work it out up here to where that's best for you guys.
Oh,
okay?
absolutely.
To make sure everybody is whole again. My question could be either for our council or the city's council. If we stayed with the stipulation agreement and we kept it at July 1st, and he wasn't into compliance, would that revert him back to having the inspector come out and find him in non-compliance? Or starting a process of non-compliance from July 2nd until it comes into compliance as a separate, maybe a separate case, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand what you're saying, and the way that I've worded it is that it, essentially, the agreement becomes void. It's like it never happened if they are unable to make the deadline. Now, given that the deadline is in July, we will have 2 board meetings between now and then, so I think one option, the board could just adopt the agreement as drafted, and then we could come back, we could discuss further and amend the agreement between the parties and come back next month with a more specific set of terms.
I like that.
That are, negotiated when we have the information on their permits and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was thinking either the amended agreement or a addendum to this agreement if it's adopted today. I don't know if that would get too messy, though.
I like that, if possible. If we could just amend.
Do we have a meeting
even
next
addendum
month?
to
No.
This one, just change, maybe push it out a month, feel like,
I have a mic, I don't know where you're done.
Well, I'm fine with pushing it out,
I've done quite a
pushing
few
the whole
of these, by
thing
the
out a
way,
month.
with code enforcement issues. This is not my first one, bringing it into compliance, so I understand how everything works. You guys are gonna check every morsel of it, so I've done it before, believe me. And, we're gonna get this done. And at the end of the day, the goal is to beautify Clearwater and Pinellas County. I've done it in Pinellas County, I live in Tampa, I've done it in Hillsborough County. We're gonna beautify the neighborhood. The neighbors are literally, multiple are coming up and thanking us for what we did next door. The only house left is this street. It's in a beautiful location that some people don't love, but it's an amazing location. We're gonna help beautify that area. It's close to downtown, it's close to Clearwater Beach, and we're gonna tremendously help the community. I'm honored to even sit here and say that we're gonna help the community, because we are. It's just, if I have to go get a full remodel permit, get plans, get everything, get hard money, and then I'm waiting on draws, and I have to get it done in 2 months, it's almost impossible, And then it sets me up, or I could just not buy it and walk away, and then a dump sits there,
I lived there forever.
I mean, it's just speaking maybe not matter of fact, but bluntly, it's just gonna sit there. It's the only eyesore in the neighborhood, and we're about to fix it. And he saw the house next door. I just wanna get it done today, so I don't have to come back. If we just can maybe push it back a month, I'll pay the $1,500 at the closing, we'll close in a week, we'll get it done.
So we
I,
could,
Rebecca Mulder, Code Manager, I did want to mention, because there was talks about doing an addendum or an amendment at the next meeting, I did want to remind the board that we do not have a meeting in May, that it was canceled, so it would be a June meeting if you did that amendment or addendum. So I want to make sure you have that information before you make any specific decisions, and make sure that the applicant is aware of that as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. I think I was the only other one that knew we didn't have a meeting next month.
Well, I like the addendum item or
Yeah.
amendment to the stipulation. I like that idea.
it'll be a must-do, since we're no meeting next month, it'll be a must-do for the January,
For the
the
June.
June meeting, to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Yeah.
Can we split the difference and push it out to August instead of September?
We would bring him, he might have everything in place by then, who knows?
Well, no harm in that.
It's, I don't have a problem, at all with,
Okay.
with whatever we decide to do, I just want to make sure that, that everybody's on the same page of what's going on with this property. So does anyone else have any questions?
Well, so if we move it out to August 1st, is that going to give you what you need to close?
August 1st should be fine. I think 3 months we'll be able to get it done.
Well, I think just to simplify this and help, and we can move on, is that I'll just say that the city will agree to August 1st, and that would just be to amend the, essentially the stipulation agreement that I've drafted. The board could approve that with the amendment that paragraph 1 be amended to say August 1st. And I believe that sounds like we might have an agreement on that.
That'll work.
That would help you, right?
Yes, sir, that'll work.
All right, any other questions, board? No? All right, can I get a motion on this?
Ray, I
Or
think
however
you had
we're-
something in mind, didn't you?
Mine's totally different.
Huh?
My motion's totally different.
You're going with the 700 grand?
I think it was.
So,
He's already out of here.
Where we have the statements here on our standard pattern on reducing it, it says within days, we could say by a certain date. And,
I believe we can.
Okay.
Can we,
I couldn't hear him.
instead of us putting a date of August 1st, instead of saying, 90 days, would that be allowed? Because the way we read it, it would be in a certain amount of days instead of August 1st. I mean, if you want to do
We're
that.
asking, the city's asking for you to approve the stipulation agreement and with the modification that paragraph 1 be amended to August 1st. So it's a little bit different than your standard lien reduction motion and your suggested motion packet. Well, I'll have to work on that with the clerk and the board attorney to address this, but given that this is a buyer compliance agreement, or there's a lot of different ways that people phrase these things, but my recommendation as the representative of the city would be that the motion be to approve the stipulation agreement with the amendment that paragraph 1 be changed to August 1st, 2025.
Okay.
you want an order?
Let's have an order. If everybody's in agreement, let's have an order.
I move to accept the stipulation agreement on case 39-14 with the amended change of changing item 1 to the date of August 1st. Payable within,
The rest of those terms are in the agreement. The 30-day payable, all
Okay.
that's in the agreement.
so,
It says the
Within 30
reduced
days.
amendment, the reduced amount shall be paid within 30 days of the date that the property is brought into compliance.
all right, so continue, payable within 30 days of the date that the property is deemed to be in compliance.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations, guys. Yeah.
Sure did. I'll have to know what you got there.
Next,
Yeah, we did.
next on the docket is nuisance abatement lien filings. 7.1 on our agenda, case 29-25. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Carucci Development LLC at 1 Verbena Street for lot cleaning and issue an order with compliance of deadline, and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on this one? Ms. Green, you have the floor. You're not Mr. Castman, so.
Good afternoon, Board. Dana Cosman's out today, so I'll be giving the presentation. Sarah Green, Code Compliance Supervisor for the City of Clearwater. This is case number 29-25 for 51 Verbena Street. It is a nuisance abatement. There's one violation for Code Section 3-1503 B5A, B7, B8 for lot clearing. These are the dates the notice of violations were sent, the compliance date, and the affidavit of posting. This is the picture of the posting that Dana did on March 20th. You'll probably recognize this property. We brought it, I believe, last month for an abandoned building. So it does have fines and liens accruing on it for that. This one is just for the outside, the grass and the overgrowth that you'll be looking at today. So on the date of posting, on March 20th, you can see that the grass is starting to be overgrown. Some sections starting to grow over onto the sidewalk. There's some debris on the property, some palm fronds, some other miscellaneous trash on the property. This is on the 28th, after the compliance date. And then this was yesterday. It's now several feet tall. No change on the property, growing over the sidewalk. So compliance can be met for lot clearing by mowing the lawn, edging the curb and sidewalk, and removing all debris from the premises. We're requesting compliance on or before 5 days from the date the board renders its order.
Has there been any contact with the developer? None at all?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Huh. I mean, that looks like a nice place, and they're starting to, I see the new brick, or the new block.
Yep, it's nice lot on North Beach,
Yeah.
but it's been that way for a while.
Yeah, I
That's a
remember.
shame,
Board, do you have any questions for Ms. Green? No?
Who wants to read?
All right. Can I get a motion for a nuisance abatement?
Maybe one of our newest members would like to read it. Anyone? Okay. I'll read it.
Page 7, guys. If you want to, if anyone down there wants to read this one, page 7.
We all need practice.
Nuisance abatement liens. You start at the top.
Page 7.
Yep, and start reading. Who wants to do it?
I'll do it. Nobody else is saying
All right,
so.
go ahead.
Nuisance, okay. The nuisance abatement liens. I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable costs which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is 7.2, case number 30-25, accepting nuisance abatement lien for respondents William Black at 2390 Willow Tree Trail for lot clearing and inoperative vehicle, and issue an order with compliance deadline, authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Inspector Stevens, or this is Steffens in this one. Stevens. You're A-N-S instead of E-N-S. No. Inspector Stevens, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. John Stevens, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case number 30-25 regarding 2390 Willow Tree Trail for nuisance abatement. We actually have 2 violations going on in the case here. You have Code Section 3-1503 B5A for lot clearing for accumulation and placement of nuisances, and then 3-1503 B6 for the storage of inoperable vehicles. I'll go through the lot clearing first, and then we'll do the inoperable vehicles afterwards. Notice of violation was posted and mailed for both violations on March 19th of this year with a compliance date of April the 2nd. I never got the certified mail back, but as you can see on my note there, I actually talked to the property owner that day when I did the posting about several issues going on at the property, which we'll also have another code board on in June to deal with some other issues. These were the postings on the day. You can see the lot clearing one, and then you can kind of see the orange one on the side of the RV there. That's one of the inoperable vehicles. And then this is some of the debris that was laying around the yard, some fencing. Looks like some type of almost like a radiator or something out of a car, maybe out of an air conditioner stacked up against the house there. A little history on this house. It actually burnt down over a year ago, and somehow it has been setting in limbo and has just become a great big public nuisance all the way around. There's some palm fronds here. There's a fencing that's fallen around, partially down around the backyard. And as you can see there, it's kind of creating access to that pool area there, which is another issue that we're dealing with. And this was on the compliance date of April the 2nd. You can see nothing has changed. Still got the fencing down, the machinery pieces, the different palm fronds, the fencing still down there. And then this was today from the front angle. You can see the machinery still there. Somebody actually raked the leaves up and bagged them, but there's no active utilities at that property, so that will not end up getting picked up by solid waste. And again, we still just have scattered debris throughout the yard. So moving on to our inoperable vehicles, these were the postings from that March 19th day. There's 3 cars there. 3 of them were inoperable, and as soon as I talked to him, then very quickly he got the 3rd one, a tag renewed on it, so it took care of that one issue. But the van here and the camper that you can see still have expired tags on them, flat tires. The camper, actually, the tires are fine, but it's more of a tag issue on it. But as you can see there, there's the one flat tire, the lack of the tag on the camper. And then this was on the compliance date. Again, the tire wasn't fixed. Camper doesn't have a tag. And then this was today. As you can see, the tags expired on the van, tires still flat, and our camper, if it'll go to it, being slow wanting to load that picture, again, doesn't have a tag on it.
There's someone living in there?
No.
Are you sure?
No utilities.
This is where I talked to him at, but he told me he's living at his brother's.
I see the
And
steps are
that's the
down.
only time that I have encountered him, was at that initial date. So compliance can be met for the lot clearing by removing all the trash and debris from the property by the compliance date and maintaining the condition of the property on a regular basis. And then for the storage of inoperable vehicles, they need to maintain the legal and mechanical condition of all vehicles on the property. This can be accomplished by displaying a valid license plate, keeping the tires inflated, or removing the vehicles from the property.
John, I have one question for you. I've seen on one of your pictures, the pool has like green lagoon water in it.
That's another case that's gonna be coming up in June. We have a
In
giant
June?
nuisance case on this
Yeah,
property.
we're moving into
So-
mosquito season. Well, we're already there.
Yeah.
Stagnant water attraction plus anybody can
Yes, sir.
wander into that pool.
Yeah, the fence is down too.
I was
and
gonna
that would
say,
be
yeah.
My concern is a significant safety hazard, you know, pool full of
That's
water and
something we're
fenced in.
looking into addressing. so-
Everybody's leaving their pools, you know, and not
John-
protecting them when they leave.
Inspector Stevens, I was going to ask, when you say, having the tires good and good plates and stuff, but that camper can't be out front anyways, right?
It's not supposed to be, but
Okay.
technically where it doesn't have a valid tag, that makes it inoperable by our code.
Okay, so if he even did put an operable
It couldn't
tag
be
on it,
there.
it still can't be there?
Yeah, it still can't be
Okay,
there. It's
that's
not
what I
supposed to be
needed.
stored in residential areas unless
Yeah.
it's in a side yard or backyard and screened with some type of fencing.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, so, okay, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go
So
ahead.
for the lot clearing, we're requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order. If you guys want to make your motion on that one, and then we'll do the inoperable vehicle on that.
Okay. You have any questions on that, first on that lot clearing violation?
Sorry, I think we can do it as one motion.
You want to do it one
Can we
motion?
do it all in one?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, then let me do my second part here then for the storage of inoperable vehicle. We are requesting compliance on or before May the 7th to allow them to try to obtain those tags, and if not, a fine of $150 a day for each day the violation exists.
Any other questions for Inspector
Yeah.
Stevens?
That one says May 7th. This,
Yes.
what on our nuisance abatement lien says within 5 days.
Yeah.
So that's a conflict between the
That's
two
Yeah.
orders.
why you wanted to.
Yeah, that's why I wanted the two
Okay.
different,
I
So
get
shall we
it now.
just
Yeah.
revert back to two different motions? Okay, let's do that. Let's go back to two different motions and do the first one on the lot clearing violation.
Okay, on the lot clearing violation, I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violation within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with reasonable costs which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, first motion carries. Now for the,
Somebody want to do the next one?
I'll do
do
it.
the next one? Who wants to do it?
Inoperable vehicle?
Okay, on the vehicle, inoperable vehicle, I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order.
Will you read that?
May the 7th, sir.
May the 7th.
I'm sorry, May the 7th, correction. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, May 7th, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry into the property,
It was not-
abate.
Sorry, board, that one's, we're actually seeking fines
Yeah,
on
this
that
is
one for that
fine.
inoperable vehicle.
This
on
would be
that
just
one.
like a regular violation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong page.
You're on the wrong-
I'm on the wrong page.
It's amateur hour up here, guys, today, all right? So,
No, it's not amateur hour, it's just, it's not even that.
I'm
Pays
just
enough for
kidding
this.
you. Yeah, we're all fumbling
You want a
today.
first motion? Is that what you want?
Yes, sir, please.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in affidavit in this case.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, second motion.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on before May 7th. If the respondent does not comply by the date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right,
Board.
next case is 7.3 on our agenda, case number 31-25, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Alto Asset Company 5 LLC at 1480 Park Street for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? All right, if you'll step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Name is Shannon Finley, Finley, address 2701 West Bush Boulevard, Tampa, Florida.
Okay. Give us a little information on what's going on here.
Basically, there's semi-compliance. They did the front, but not the back. So I'm going to have to send a vendor in to take care of it since the resident did not.
Okay.
I'd like to have maybe a 2-week extension because I can't just send a vendor. I have to get bids and
Mhm.
approval, maybe 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay. Well, have a seat right there, and we're going to hear from the city, and they actually, their compliance date might be in 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see what it is, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. Inspector Stevens, you have the floor.
Yes, Board, again, this is 1480 Park Street for case 31-25, again, a nuisance abatement. There's one violation here of 3-1503B7 for lot clearing overgrowth. Notice of violation was sent on the 18th of March this year, with a compliance date of the 28th of March. Certified mail was not received by us, but we had physically posted the property, which you can see there in my picture, which gave them that date. And I will say originally this was not only for overgrowth, but they also had some loose trash in the yard. And this was actually a citizen complaint from the property behind them that's saying that the backyard was just growing out of control. And when I went to inspect the property, there was also issues at the front. The front was not as overgrown as the back, but again, there was loose trash, and they very quickly after I posted it, they mowed the front, picked up the trash, but then they've never touched the back. So this is the state of the property that day, which is kind of hard to see the biggest part of the violation here, but when you zoom in down the sides of it, you can see from the street there, that's how overgrown it was in the back, that you can see it from the side. This was actually a couple days after the compliance date, and you can see that there was no change to the backyard, even though the front had been mowed, as you can see there in the one picture. And then today, again, there's no change to the overgrowth in the back. So compliance can be met for this by cutting the grass both in the back and the front of the property, including the curb line, and continuing to maintain it. And then we are requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Would you have any questions?
Yeah.
Inspector.
How do you feel about giving them another 2 weeks?
It doesn't matter to me one way or the other as long as they come into compliance, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I know that she's with the company that's managing the property for the owner. So I know that doesn't look good for them if they don't get it done, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
All right. You want to come back forward, please, to the podium? So 2 weeks, is that going to be enough time for you to get some bids out there and get people in there to get it fixed up?
Hopefully, if the first vendor bid comes in acceptable for the bid department, they may approve it, and it may go quick.
Can you speak in the microphone, please?
Sure. If the first vendor's bid comes back and is accepted by the bid department, then it may go very quickly. If the first bid comes back and it's excessively high, they may want a second opinion. So that could take more than 2 weeks. Could we do 2 weeks and then I update Inspector Stevens if it looks like it's going to go past that?
Well, we've already been through,
Yeah.
we've already had it as a violation, so we're kind of past that, I think.
Rebecca Mulder, Code Compliance Manager. I just wanted to clarify that this is a P&U case that we're looking for a board order to abate. So if you guys execute the order, then after that 5 days, then the inspector would have the ability to go out and abate. If you're working with the inspector and you provide him with something that says you'll be out there to get adjusted, I'm sure that we would work with you within that 2-week span. But we would be requesting that the board uphold this request for approval of the board order so that we have that should anything fall through or for future events that may occur.
Do you think that you can, like, submit this to your bid, your people who bid, and will know within 5 days?
I'm going to send it to a vendor tonight. They'll have to go out and assess it and provide their bid. So should be a bid by Monday at the latest. Now, whether or not that's approved,
Well,
because I don't do approvals.
Chairman, like Manager Mulder was saying, basically, I've got a little bit of leeway, so if she gets her bid back and they want a second opinion or something like that, I don't have to go out immediately, but the city would have that ability that, again, if this turns into, well, now it's 3 weeks or 4 weeks, no, we can go ahead and take care of the problem. So there's a little bit of flexibility there.
Okay. Well, what I think we should do is we should stick to the original order, and Inspector Stevens can keep in contact, and you know, you guys can see where we're at, and go from there.
Sounds good to me.
I mean,
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Was this the tenant's responsibility, and now it's falling to you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Lucky you.
Or do you have any other?
And the gentleman over there had a question. He had his hand up. I don't know if you want to ask him. Okay.
Board, do you have any other questions? No? Well, I think that's what we'll go ahead and do. We're just going to go ahead and stick with the 5 days, and you can keep in contact with Inspector Stevens and let him know what's going on. Like he said, if it comes back, 3 weeks, the city's going to come in there and clean it up. And then you guys are going to have, maybe your people do it a lot cheaper than the city, I think. So, you're just going to kind of, you tell your people that are, making these decisions that, hey, this is you either want the city to do it or you want us to do it. It's going to cost a lot less. So, all right. Okay, can I get a motion? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of the code and requiring the respondent to correct the violation within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion approved.
Thank you, Board.
All right, our next.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Our next case is 7.4 on our agenda, case number 32-25. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Lance Willard and Bianca Lizarraga at 1109 Charles Street for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Inspector Dixon?
Hello again, Board. Inspector Dixon, City of Clearwater Code Compliance.
That says
There it goes.
1109 Charles. This says 1007. I'm on the wrong one.
You're on the wrong one.
Yeah.
But one up,
Oh.
right there. Yeah.
You're on the last one.
Sorry.
Coffee time.
Yeah.
Am I right? Is it Charles now?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
You were
Just
right.
testing you.
All right, this is case 32-25 for 1109 Charles Street. It's a nuisance abatement case. There's one violation for overgrowth and accumulation of trash and debris. Property was posted mid-March with a compliance date in 10 days. Certified mail never came back. Yeah. These are the postings in March. This property it looks like it's being renovated, looks like they're almost there, but I haven't seen any progress. It's been since the storm that anybody's been there, I think. I have been in email contact with one of the owners, and they told me they're aware of the issue. I explained how to come into compliance, and they said they'll reach back out in a couple of weeks. Well, they never reached back out, so now we're here. It's just overgrown and unmaintained. And this is this morning, there's no change at the property except that the grass is taller. Sidewalk's impassable.
Is anyone there?
Nope. Well, compliance will be met by removing all the overgrowth and debris and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Board, do you have any questions for Inspector Dixon? No? Everybody good? All right, can I get a motion?
Me. I
Whoever.
move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Next on the agenda is 7.5, case 33-25, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents James and Andrea Butterworth at 1007 Jones Street for lot clearing, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Inspector Jones, or Inspector Dixon, you have the floor. I'm sorry.
Inspector Dixon, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case 33-25 for 1007 Jones Street.
My first house I bought when I moved here was on Jones Street.
There's one violation at this property for overgrowth, unmaintained right-of-way, and accumulation of trash and debris. Property was posted at the beginning of April. Here's the day of posting. There is a tree through the roof. I was contacted by a contractor that's in the area that he's gonna have the grass mowed over the weekend. So this board mortar might not be used, but just in case.
So we're dealing with a tree house.
Yeah, you can see that tree kind of in the back that's going through the house, not by the house. This was this morning, there's no change at the property. Hopefully it'll be addressed over the weekend, at least the vegetation will be.
So it still has utilities to it? I see the trash cans out, or is
No,
that neighbors?
those are neighbors' trash.
Oh, okay.
But to be clear, though, we're not asking to abate the tree.
No.
To remove the tree.
No.
The city would just cut the overgrowth and the tree would remain.
I just want the grass cut, sidewalk cleared. The compliance can be met by clearing the overgrowth and debris from the property and clear the sidewalk and street of any vegetation growing in the sidewalk and the street. And I'm requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right, any questions for Inspector Dixon? Nope. All right. Mr. Plum, let's do this one.
Okay. I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost, which will be a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid for 3 months. After such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. And Board, if we have nothing else on today's agenda, I will adjourn the meeting.
Nice.
Thank you.